Mark had always been fascinated by the abandoned asylum on the edge of town. The crumbling brick building with its boarded-up windows and overgrown gardens had always beckoned to him. But everyone in town knew it was haunted, and no one dared to go near it. One night, Mark and his friends decided to explore the asylum. They waited until after dark, and made their way to the overgrown garden. As they pushed aside the vines and entered the building, they felt a chill run down their spines. The interior was just as creepy as the exterior, with peeling wallpaper, rusted metal doors, and cobweb-covered furniture. As they made their way through the maze of rooms, they heard strange noises in the darkness. It sounded like whispers, but they couldn't make out what was being said. Suddenly, they heard footsteps coming from the corridor. They huddled together, trying to stay quiet. The footsteps grew closer, and they saw a figure emerge from the darkness. It was a woman, dressed in a tattered hospital gown, with wild, frizzy hair. Mark's heart raced as the woman approached. She was muttering to herself and waving her arms in the air. He tried to back away, but his friends were frozen with fear. The woman lunged at them, screaming and clawing at their faces. They tried to run, but she was too fast. Mark felt her cold fingers wrap around his neck, and he could feel her breath on his face. Suddenly, the lights flickered on, and the woman vanished. Mark and his friends were alone in the asylum, but they could feel her presence all around them. They ran out of the building, never looking back. For weeks after, Mark had nightmares about the woman in the asylum. He wondered if she was a patient who had died there, or if she was something more sinister. He never ventured near the asylum again. It was a dark, stormy night, and Alex was driving alone on a deserted road. The rain was pouring down so hard that he could barely see the road ahead of him. He had taken a wrong turn and was now lost in the middle of nowhere. As he drove along, he saw an old, abandoned mansion in the distance. It looked spooky, with broken windows and a sagging roof. Alex decided to stop and wait out the storm inside the mansion. As he entered the mansion, he felt a strange chill in the air. The door creaked shut behind him, and he heard the sound of footsteps coming from upstairs. He called out, but there was no answer. As he climbed the stairs, he felt a sense of dread growing inside him. The footsteps continued, but he couldn't see anyone. He reached the top of the stairs, and the footsteps stopped. Suddenly, he heard a faint whisper, "Get out." He turned around, but there was no one there. He continued down the hallway, and the whisper grew louder, "Get out." He tried to leave, but the door wouldn't open. Then, he saw a shadowy figure at the end of the hallway. It was a woman, dressed in a long, flowing dress. She was walking slowly towards him, and he could hear her whispering, "Get out." Alex was frozen with fear, unable to move. The woman got closer, and he could see that her face was twisted in a grotesque expression. She reached out with her long, bony fingers, and touched him. He screamed and ran, and the door finally opened. He stumbled out of the mansion and back to his car. He drove away as fast as he could, never looking back. Years later, Alex still couldn't forget the feeling of that woman's touch. He wondered if the mansion was haunted by the ghost of a woman who had died there long ago. The memory still sent shivers down his spine. Once there was a small town in the middle of nowhere. It was surrounded by dense, dark forests, and no one dared to venture into them after dark. The locals whispered that there was something evil lurking in the woods, something that preyed on the unwary. One day, a group of hikers decided to ignore the rumors and explore the woods. They were young and fearless, and they wanted to prove that the stories were just myths. As they made their way deeper into the forest, the air grew colder, and the trees became more twisted and sinister. The group became uneasy, but they pressed on, hoping to find some hidden treasure or forgotten relic. As night fell, they set up camp in a small clearing, their tents huddled together for warmth. They built a fire and told ghost stories, trying to scare each other. But their laughter turned to terror when they heard a strange noise in the darkness. It was a low growl, deep and menacing. They huddled together, clutching their flashlights, as the growl turned into a roar. Suddenly, a huge creature burst out of the forest, its eyes glowing with a fierce red light. It was like nothing they had ever seen before, a massive beast with razor-sharp claws and teeth. The group tried to run, but the creature was too fast. It attacked them one by one, tearing them apart with its claws and teeth. The woods echoed with their screams, but no one came to help them. In the morning, when the sun rose over the forest, the locals found the hikers' torn and mangled bodies. No one knew what had attacked them, but they knew it was something they could not defeat. From that day on, the locals avoided the woods after dark, and they warned travelers not to venture too far into the forest. The creature remained a mystery, a dark legend that haunted the town for generations to come.